Hi there everyone, it is currently the 31st of August 2011 and we're continuing to watch two tropical systems out here, starting here towards the left or out towards the west. Tropical depression now Namadol moving across much of eastern China here. Very disrupted and very disorganized right now, so I'm not expecting any future development coming out of this, as it did bring a lot of rain across much of Taiwan. Plenty of mudslides and landslides actually occurred there, and actually after it did cross Luzon actually earlier this last week, bringing of 20 to 23 deaths being recorded right now. This is from different news sources that I kind of did screw up here, but the only effects left with the system is an outward basically enhancement with the southwest monsoon moving over much of the South China Sea here. Could continue to bring some precipitation over much of Luzon, but really the big topic for today is Tropical Storm Talas, or actually Typhoon Talas from JMA. They're actually upgrading it to Typhoon. Continues to track off towards the west and eventually the northwest here currently, as shown on the satellite imagery. Current winds out of this are about 55, gusting up to 70 knots per JTWC, yet JMA does have it at typhoon status of 65, gusting up to about 75 knots right now. Currently, though, JMA and JTWC do expect this to intensify up to a typhoon from JTWC and basically maxing out about 70 knots. So just barely typhoon status, basically a Category 1 equivalent of a hurricane. My personal thoughts on it is that it's going to remain relatively weak, and if it does reach typhoon status, it's going to be very short period of time, as it is completely disrupted right now. A lot of dry air advection circling into the center of the system from the north. As you can see, a lot of the cloud tops are knocked off on here on the northwestern periphery, indicating a lot of loss of that latent heat near the center of the system, and a lot of suppression due to an area of high pressure now out here towards the west. Also noting there is a trough building in from the northwest here, is really going to start basically acting as a plow into the system. You can kind of see those clouds working their way in here in the northern part of the screen, and that is also going to be a major influence on the basically de-intensification of the system. And here is another view at the IR imagery here, just quickly showing that currently JTWC actually showing winds of 55 knots. They are expecting to intensify upwards of 70 knots here over the next 24 hours as it continues to track off towards the west and then the northwest as that trough starts to work in and starts to interact with it. Reason why I say that trough is going to indicate some de-intensification, though, is it's going to really start to knock off much of this region right in here as far as the higher cloud tops already happening. Actually, if we look at this imagery here, knocking a lot of that stuff off. Only the higher cloud tops are located in the southeastern periphery where all that convection is. So kind of basically a dry wind up here, not really much precipitation associated with it. A lot of upper level clouds off towards the northern periphery here. Actually up here in Yokohama, seeing some mid to upper level clouds today, just some of these outer bandings here on the northern part. But overall, though, much of the precipitation and the thunderstorms are located here off towards the east, where it's actually going to remain much offshore until starting to make landfall here, possibly near Kyoto and Osaka. Now that's per JTWC and JMA's warning, starting to track here off towards the west. If we look at the model guidance, it points to a landfall with the center of circulation around Shikoku, and actually Shikoku already seen a tropical system make landfall here already this year. It brought a lot of precipitation, a lot of flooding actually along the east coast, and this could possibly happen again. A lot of these models are tracking off just west of JTWC. They're taking more into account the effect of this troughing coming in from the north, and that's going to steer it off towards the north and eventually off towards the northeast as well. But overall, this is just indicating the model consensus basically just left of where JMA and JTWC are showing landfall. And this also matches up with my favorite product here, the streamline analysis slash actually vorticity here, just showing a lot of upward vertical motion. But overall, though, if you follow the background winds as indicated here just off towards the northeast of the tropical storm, it does bring the system off towards the northwest, making landfall around Kyoto and Osaka, this metropolitan area right in here. Kind of spares much of Tokyo off towards the northeast, but overall, though, going to be seeing those max winds throughout this entire region. Overall, also noting the wind field is actually pretty expansive out of this system. If we look back at ASCA imagery, you can see where these winds above 30 knots are extending from all the way up here towards the Bowen Islands and extending all the way down towards Iwate. You're seeing winds upwards about 25 to 30 knots, maxing winds out here just to the east, basically in some of these convection bandings actually wrapping around this system. You could see upwards of 35 to 40 knots. Now, overall, I am expecting this to actually kind of decrease in intensity just prior to landfall, but the max winds as far as tropical storm strength or near tropical storm strength is very broad in this system. So anywhere you are here along the Japanese coast could see some sort of high winds. So just don't want to take this completely out of account of any high winds if you are in the Tokyo metropolitan area, even though the storm track is off towards the southwest. But continuing to look at all these products, including model guidance, streamline analysis, all these surface analysis, this is what JMA has put out for their official warning. With landfall here along southern Honshu, basically just southeast of where Kyoto and Osaka are, right in here in the inland sea. Now this is where they're expecting landfall at winds of about 70, gusting up to about 95 knots. Currently, sustained winds are 65 knots, thus this is a typhoon, TY here indicated. 965 HPA is what JMA holds on this, and are continuing to suspect it to track off here. I am noticing a trend though. JMA and GWC continue to work this towards the west as this continues to track towards the west. Therefore, landfall could be anywhere in this region, basically from where this is now, all the way down through Shikoku. Expect landfall possibly throughout this entire area. So just want to continue to watch this and monitor it, and continue to check back here with JMA or the Japan Meteorological Agency for these official warnings. And speaking of warnings, actually some high surf warnings being put out here by JMA as well, and a lot of high wind advisories across the entire country, actually all the way from Hokkaido down south through Kyushu and Okinawa here on the left. High wind advisories and some thunderstorm advisories being put out as well. So basically they are indicating as of right now, especially with these surf warnings, that there is a possibility of some high waves and definitely rip currents here in a lot of these coves even, just because of the outflow and the swells coming out of the system right now. So a very dangerous time to go to the beach, especially here on the southeastern part of Japan. Very dangerous time, and it definitely would stay out of the water at this time because it's not going to be safe at all as the storm continues to approach. But that is all for right now, everyone. Thanks again for listening to WesternPacificWeather.com. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can always post them here at WesternPacificWeather.com or at the YouTube page if you're watching it there. And also, I am posting this at storm2k.org. Plenty of meteorological discussion going on there as well. And lastly, starting to get involved with 28storms.com. They are primarily coverage out in the Atlantic and much of a tornado chasing back stateside, but they're trying to expand out here towards the Western Pacific, so check there as well. But thanks again, everybody. Thanks again for listening, and have a great day and stay safe.